Hello, it's been a little while. I'm excited to be here. If you didn't know, the Marvel Multiverse Roleplaying Game came out yesterday. I've had it for about a week, and I've been putting my thoughts together. This is my full review of the system. Let's get right into it. First off, I do have to disclose that I got sent a copy of the book by Marvel, so if you've seen this tweet, that's why I got it early. I've made YouTube videos about it, and apparently they thought it was cool enough that I should deserve an early copy. I don't get it either. Don't ask me.
But with that said, this dumbass forgot to say that does not mean that I'm sponsored. All my opinions are my own, and yeah, I wasn't paid to say anything good or bad about this game in any way, shape, or form, and I'm just talking about it because I would have talked about it here anyway. That's why I was making content about it before, and that's why they sent it to me in the first place. Okay, bye.
Let's get right into the review. The how to play section is the very start of the book, and it's fine. It's just a little section about how to play role-playing games. If you've played them before, you can probably skip it, honestly. It's just like an intro to roleplay, and if you need that, it's a great section for you. If you don't, feel free to skip it. Moving on to the core mechanics section, this is where the game starts to tell you what it's all about, what the actual rules will look like, all of that. It's a very good explanation of the D616 system. I especially like the part in the book about TN and the challenge rating of certain roles. I think that's going to be super helpful as a narrator, and I'm probably going to be referencing that all the time. And just to touch on the edge and trouble section, which is kind of like D&D and advantage, it used to be that the narrator would choose which dice to re-roll, which I think made it a little mind gamesy, and now they've made it so that you just always re-roll the highest roll, and that I think is the right decision. On to the meat and potatoes of the system, the character creation system. We're going to combine the character profiles and the character creation process into like one little review here, and I just wanted to touch on how much I like this part of the book. There's so much depth here. It feels like really what was focused on. This and the power sets, of course, which go hand in hand. The book lays it out all very simply for you. It walks you through the process step by step so that you know exactly what you're doing, which I think is really well done. They made a very direct improvement from the playtest that I personally like a lot. They made it so that the default values for your health and focus are extremely clear. The lowest that you can have is 10. Even if you get no points or negative, you're still going to have 10 HP and 10 focus, and that's great. I love seeing that. It's very clear how much you'll have. I love the math here. It's all very simple. And they made a big change with power sets and which ones you get to take and how it's more limited than it was before unless you take a specific trait, which is just absolutely busted. Surprising power is like the most required trait if you want to build outside of a like predetermined archetype. It's just such an incredible trait. I feel like everyone's going to take it. It feels necessary almost to build certain characters.
While I do stand behind everything that I just said, it is worth pointing out that in the text up there it says this trait can be selected multiple times and that it only works for one power. So if you wanted to do many different powers that are surprising, you would have to take this trait multiple times, and that makes perfect sense. It balances it a little more than I was initially leading on, just to clarify.
And if you played on the Roll20 version of this game yet, you'll know that the character creation process there is even simpler. They literally hold your hand for it. We'll get to that later when I show it off. It's going to be cool. But let's move on to powers in the meantime, and I will tell you what I think about those. I honestly don't have too much to say. There's just like more powers, and a lot more powers, and they did not shy away from making the powers crazy busted OP, which I think is really fun and flavorful for a superhero game. Like, why? You have characters that can literally traverse the multiverse in seconds. Let them do it and then face the repercussions of their actions. That sounds fun to me as a narrator, as someone that's going to be building the story along with these players. I get to punish them for making foolish decisions. It's going to be so much fun. I'm going to have a great time playing with such large scale powers, literally like multiversal travel and time travel. Like, you can't have bigger consequences than that. It's absurd. I will say one of my biggest criticisms is almost how much they put into powers. It feels like they could have put some of that effort into other things, like building a couple of maps that go with the core rulebook, or building like a similar adventure to the one that was in the playtest that gets you into the vibe of the game, gives you a feel for what it's going to be like. But there is nothing like that in here, and there are a shit ton of powers. So many powers. And I'm not saying that they didn't need to put that focus there, because they absolutely did. It's really important that they get all the powers that you can use as a Marvel hero to build all the characters that people would want to build. But I also think that it's important for this role-playing game to feel like a role-playing game to people that are used to playing role-playing games, because that's going to be the core of your audience, and those are the people that you want to stick around. Let's move on to backstories, and the backstory section of this book is pretty much unchanged from what it originally was, except there's just more stuff in there. They made the change during the playtest to split up tags into traits and tags, which is just the best decision they could have made, since some of them made sense to have just if you earned them. You know, you have a child, you get the child trait or whatever it's called in the book. It's not called child, but there is one that has a child on your character, and that trait is not something that you should need to pay for. It's just something that your character has, and there are traits that you should need to spend points to get, so it's just a very logical change there. There is a pretty key change to origins, where some of them lock you into specific powers and you can't take other ones for maximum roleplay potential. Mwah. And the occupations list is the same as it was before. It's just a list of jobs that gives you traits and tags. It's just more of them from the playtest, so nothing really much to say there. It's just a list of jobs. A brief aside to talk about the terminology in this game. It's very D&D friendly in my opinion. All of the terminology feels like it has a direct D&D analogy, which I'm sure is on purpose, right? Like you have the abilities, and the abilities, even though they are Marvel here, might and agility are clearly strength and dexterity, and all of the other ones clearly rival one from D&D, and it's clear that they're trying to do that with all of their terminology so that someone who's new to D&D can, you know, easily swap over to this system, or, you know, those skills will be transferable from one way to the other. So if this is your first experience, because I think that this game is actually a pretty good first experience as long as you have like a seasoned veteran DM that knows what they're doing, you could easily transfer these skills to something like D&D and have a great time. The combat in the core rulebook is much improved than it was the first time around in the playtest. I'll tell you what, the math is so much easier. Playing it on a physical table with actual people, I was super worried that the math was going to get out of hand really quickly, and then it did not. The math was super easy, consistently easy to calculate how much damage we were doing, how much health people were losing, everything super, super clear, and no complaints on any of the math stuff anymore. That's much improved. I will say that my biggest complaint about the combat now is that there are weapons, but not enough of them in my opinion. Should be like cool Marvel specific weapons like Mjolnir, like Captain America's shield that I could reference in the book to build my own cool Marvel weapons. And I'm probably still gonna homebrew some Marvel weapons and stuff, and you can't stop me, okay? It's gonna happen. Stick around to see what that's gonna look like. Subscribe or whatever if you want. I'm not your mom. I don't care. Do what you want. And on a similar note, where are the shops, huh? Why can't I go to a Marvel shop? I want to go and buy, I don't know, Marvel superhero attire that is different than the one that I currently wear, and maybe that gives me a defense buff or something. I'm gonna make shops too. You can't stop me. I'm gonna homebrew some shops. But on a serious note, I truly am disappointed that there was not some kind of way to see how much a weapon would cost in some kind of dollar value range. Like, it just would be nice to have some semblance of an economy that I could base things off when making my own worlds. I just have to start from scratch, and that's okay. It just kind of sucks. I wish that I had a little bit of a guide there. I'm just not a very seasoned world builder. That's just me being bad at it. I'm sorry. The core rulebook also has this really big section on character profiles that I probably should have talked about earlier when we talked about the character creation process. But I think that there's a lot of really good pieces of content in there that you can use if you're running your own games. I just wish that it came with something like maps as well. Like I mentioned earlier, I feel like there's not very many tools for someone that wants to run something in this system right now. You just kind of have to make it all up, and that is hard, right? If you don't have a DM that's going to build a game for you, you have to find that first, right? That's the first step, and then you can get the book and learn it and then go out and play with your friends. But you need to find somebody willing to run it for you first. And if you're looking to learn and run, I will happily try to teach you on this channel. If you're willing to stick around and learn, I will be your guide. But it's going to be some homebrew stuff, and maybe a little more than I had initially hoped when I had heard that the core rulebook was coming. But I don't say that to dissuade you from picking the book up and trying to run your own games. If that's something you're interested in doing and you have the inspiration, you have the Marvel knowledge, and you want to build your own stuff, I absolutely urge you to do so. It's some of the most fun I've ever had playing D&D is DMing stuff in this system during the playtest, and I'm looking forward to doing it in the future. I'm just going to have to put in a lot of work to make it work. I'm going to have to do a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to world building, because this game just really gives you a guide and lets you do your own thing, and there will be expansions to help with that, but they're going to cost money. And I would be lying if I said I wasn't a little disappointed with that. Like, there's this whole section on the Marvel Multiverse, and they expand on some of the lore that I will be referencing when I'm running my own campaigns, because there's stuff that I did not know about the Marvel Universe in here that I think is really cool and fun and interesting and really helpful for world building. But I can't really use it, you know? Like, I can reference it, and I know that it's there if I ever need it, but how do I go about actually building these maps out? I have to do that myself, and I will happily take on the task for the ones that I like, but a lot of these I'm just never going to use, and that's okay. Anyway, let's end on a really cool note, and that cool note is taking a look at Roll20. Let's move over there, and I'll show you what the character sheets look like, and how you can create one super easily, and yeah, it's going to be neat, I think. Okay, so this is Roll20. This is what the rolls look like in Roll20 right here. These rolls, in my opinion, look pretty cool. You can easily tell that the Marvel die is this middle one here. So I know right away if I get a fantastic success or fantastic failure. They look pretty similar to the ones that were in the playtest, but, you know, just a little Marvelified. Let's come over to the character sheets. I have 2 here prepped that I wanted to walk you guys through. The first one here is Character Builder. The Character Builder, we'll maybe save it for later actually. The edit sheet version I think is way less useful. If you edit the sheet directly, you have this, and to edit these you have to go into like the individual cogwheels and you get this like weird spreadsheet looking menu that I will use to modify existing characters, but probably never to create them. It doesn't seem like the most user-friendly UI for that, but it does exist, and you can come in here and adjust your base stats, and if you have any bonuses, obviously this basically just mimics the physical character sheet. Same with all this, you can just like add any of this information in here. Your codename goes up here at the top. You can add like character art, all very cool. Just mark off your conditions. You've got your roleplay section in here with your origin, occupation. So this is like all the stuff you'd fill out right at the start for your character concept. And then you can actually just take notes right in your character sheet here, which I think is super awesome as a player. I would love to have this section in most of my character sheets, and because it's digital, it can just go on forever, so that's rad. Onwards to the character builder method. If you click on character builder and you click on character builder again, it will teach you how to build your own character. I probably don't even have to do any work as a DM now. I can just get people into Roll20, tell them to build their own character, and we'll be off to the races in 20 minutes. It's going to be so great. But seriously, like, look how easy this is. I click on rank 3. I'm building a rank 3 character. Boom. It tells me how many points I have to allocate. I want to build, like, let's go with, I don't know, somebody like Superman. I'm going to build a really strong, really agile lad who has a lot of resilience, who has like a little bit of logic, a decent ego, and some pretty good vigilance, right? Like, I don't know, he's probably more than rank 3. But you get the idea. Like, it's super easy. It shows me all my stats down here. I click next, and then literally, he's an alien. We pick alien. It's so easy. I could pick a more specific alien, but I won't, just because it's too hard, and I don't want to think that hard. We can build, I don't know, what would he be? Is there a reporter here? There is, right? A journalist. We just pick journalist. That's Superman. We got traits here. He is not abrasive. He has an audience, I think. That's pretty true. He's battle ready. Why not? He's a berserker. That's not true, but fuck it. He's big. Now he is. And it's told me already, like, look, I don't have any more traits. That's it. I'm capped out. We move on. It adds my powers. What do I want here? I can just pick my power sets. This is great. Look how useful this is. I haven't gone through this in this much detail yet. You guys are seeing my literal live reaction to this. But yeah, if I want to just like pick different individual powers, what would I pick for Superman? Something like definitely super strength and super speed. So we would pick stuff like banging heads, clobber. I would confirm that we would add a new power. I would have to scroll through and then like look through, but I can look through, write the powers down that I want, pick them all, and then when I'm done that, click next. Boom, we have the last final like history, tags, traits, all of that fun stuff right at the end. This is basically just like fill everything else out, finish. Character sheet populates right there for you. Super easy process. I'm really looking forward to running with people. This is going to be so easy to show people and get people engaged. As long as I do the work and build something that they can play through, they will have a great, great time. So if you're a DM and you're looking to build some fun worlds and, you know, you need a character creation system, I very much urge you to look at this one. And if you want to look at it on Roll20, it makes things super, super easy. But, you know, if you're somebody that's new and you don't have a seasoned DM, maybe find a seasoned DM first. Good luck out there. Let me know if you need any help. I will absolutely do my best to answer any questions anyone has in the comments down below about this system, about what I'm going to be running in this system, about how you can run the best game you can possibly run with the system. I'm excited to keep talking about this game in the future, and hopefully running some live games here. Stick around if that's something you want to fucking see. I don't care, you little pussy. Sorry, I love you guys. Bye. It's good to be back, okay? I'm just happy to be here. I don't know what that was.